I would be thankful if you subscribe, preferably to my channel. Not only do you make my day, but you also know when the next video arrives, so you can have another cozy moment very soon. The Eve Gate. This ancient, almost mythic construct stands as both the origin and the downfall of humanity in the universe of Eve. The journey to understand this gate begins not with its presence, but with its absence. A bridge between worlds, long collapsed, that once spanned across galaxies. Thousands of years ago, before the dark ages of New Eden, mankind lived in a distant star cluster known as the Milky Way. They had finally reached the pinnacle of technological advancements and was building the Eve Gate. This was to be able to connect their home to distant star clusters. This colossal wormhole was more than a transport system. It was the pinnacle of civilization. Humanity then started to pour through it with great numbers. Humanity settling in the stars. These stars we now know as New Eden. This was an era of exploration and expansion, and of course, boundless opportunities. The Eve Gate was a triumph of human engineering, probably founded by the Musk families. It was a symbol of unity and progress, and also a beacon of hope for the millions of people who sought new life beyond the stars. But with such greatness came the risk. What they didn't know is that this shining path would one day lead to ruin. In one single cataclysmic event, the Eve Gate collapsed, unleashing chaos on a scale never seen before. The stars around the gate were shattered in violent supernova-like explosions, decimating entire solar systems. Communication with the Milky Way ceased as the wormhole imploded, trapping all the colonists of New Eden far away from their ancestral home. Worlds fell into disarray. The fledgling colonies lost contact with one another. The advanced technology that sustained them were rendered useless, plunging humanity into an age of darkness and isolation. Now the Eve Gate, once a symbol of mankind's triumph, loomed as a ruin. Its once bright glow extinguished. Legends of the gate were passed down through the generations, but no one dared to approach it, not after witnessing the devastation that unfolded in its wake. It became a forbidden place, a monument to human hubris. Even now, the Eve Gate remnant still lingers in the New Eden system, located far in the constellation of Genesis. This system is known as New Eden. It is surrounded by massive star storms that make navigation treacherous. Pilots that approach it reports feeling unease, as if they're being watched by something greater, something ancient. The gate itself, though still broken, emits strange and powerful energies, suggesting it might be more than just a relic. Rumors swirl about expeditions sent by various factions to study the gate, each one vanishing without a trace. Concord, the unified law enforcement body of New Eden, has long restricted access to the Eve Gate, issuing warnings that it is unstable and potentially dangerous. But adventurers and treasure hunters alike, whispers of hidden knowledge locked within the gate's remains, knowledge that could lead to godlike powers or ultimate destruction. And if you ask me, then SOE should know some stuff by now. Some also claims that the mysterious Jovian Empire with their superior technology and ancient knowledge, were involved in the gate's collapse. Others point to strange data suggesting that the gate was not entirely of human construction. It might have been something older, something more alien, and who knows if that played a role in the calamity. Pirates have laid claim to some of the surrounding systems and are of course attacking capsuleers who come too close. The Eve Gate remains a battleground not just for ships and technology, but even of ideas and ideologies. Now what lies beyond, locked within the dangerous void of New Eden? But some factions have been unlocking pieces of the puzzle, discovering ancient schematics and records that suggest that the gate could be reopened, though at a great risk. Others say that the gate is not a one-way portal, but a living entity, and that its reactivation could spell doom for the entire galaxy. The dream of the possibilities of reconnecting with our ancient ancestors or finding out what became of Earth and the Milky Way is as of now a mystery. Could the gate lead to salvation, or is it simply a cosmic tombstone, marking humanity's greatest failure? The truth, it seems, is lost among the stars, waiting for those brave enough to seek it out. Be aware that the Eve Gate is not just a gateway, it is a warning. The collapse of the Eve Gate wasn't just a technological failure, it was the annihilation of an entire way of life. Prior to its destruction, New Eden have been a thriving extension of humanity, brimming with advanced settlements and powerful mega corporations, and also scientific progress. Most of those I've made videos about if you want to know more. But the gate itself, the monumental wormhole that connected these colonies to their origins, allowed a steady stream of resources and knowledge and people to flow between the Milky Way and New Eden for a time. When the gate collapsed in that massive supernova-like event, it cut off this lifeline. The interconnectedness that had fueled rapid expansion vanished in an instant, as we recently talked about. So what has once been colonies teeming with people now found themselves cut off. Their technologies failing without the supplies and knowledge that they did rely upon. And the most immediate effect was the collapse of governing structures. Without the Eve Gate, no central authority could maintain control over the vast distances between star systems. Entire planetary governments fell apart within months. Some colonies were fortunate, having stockpiled resources and developed limited self-sufficiency, but even they did struggle to adapt to the loss of the advanced technology. Other worlds that were dependent on imports from distant systems, whether it be food, medicine, or industrial goods, were the first to face devastation. Mass starvation swept through many planets, while others were beset by violent coups and revolutions. On more remote colonies, once powerful planetary rulers developed into warlords, fighting for control over the last scraps of functioning technology. Now technology, the cornerstone of humans' success, became a fleeting memory. With the supply chain severed, maintenance of complex systems became impossible. Starships that once traversed galaxies were left to rot. Factories and labs powered by ancient machinery also fell silent. Only the most rudimentary tools and systems survived. Knowledge that had taken millennia to accumulate was lost within generations as humanity spiraled into a new dark age. This technological decline, of course, didn't happen overnight, but It happened quickly enough to eradicate almost everything. Most of the colonies had depended on automatic systems for agriculture, manufacturing, and of course medical care. When these systems failed, people reverted to primitive method of survival. On some planets, technology took on a mythical quality, revered as relics of a long-forgotten golden age. So what followed was a long and brutal period known as the Age of Strife. Without faster-than-light communication, the vast distances between planets became insurmountable barriers. The once thriving colonies of New Eden became isolated, forced to fend for themselves for an increasingly hostile universe. Each world became its own group, its people fighting to survive with whatever resources they had left. A galaxy of warlords, where survival often depended on strength rather than wisdom. Whole generations grew up knowing nothing but war, famine, and death. The knowledge of how to build starships, how to traverse the stars, and even how to harness energy was lost to many of those worlds. While some managed to retain a fraction of the old technologies, most were plunged into a medieval-like condition. This was the Dark Ages. As with all Dark Ages, there were still glimmers of light. Out of the ashes of the old empires, new powers began to rise. Some planets, as I said, managed to retain a fraction of their technological knowledge and using it to establish themselves as a dominant force in their star systems. Feudal lords who would control this technology became kings. They became emperors and also tyrants. The foundation for the great empires of New Eden were laid in these dark times. One of the most notable factions to emerge from the Dark Ages was the Amarr Empire. Isolated on their homeworlds, Amarr society turned inward, becoming more hierarchical and authoritarian, and what became as a small theocratic order soon evolved into a powerful empire that would go on to conquer entire planets. Driven by this sense of divine destiny, the Amarr began a campaign of expansion that would eventually lead them to become one of the most dominant forces in New Eden. But the Dark Ages didn't last forever, and some planets began to rediscover those technologies that had been lost. As societies rebuilt and regained some measure of stability, they sought out their neighbors, reigniting the exploration of space, starships, everything once thought was lost to history. Everything, most of it, were rebuilt. Interstellar travel, once the domain of myth, became a possibility once more. Rediscovery of space travel marked the beginning of the new era in New Eden. As planets reconnected, they found themselves in a changed universe. The old order had crumbled, and in its place, new power has arisen. The once fragmented colonies became to form alliances, and new interstellar empires were born. The Dark Ages were a time of unparalleled hardship for the people in New Eden, but they also laid the foundation for the universe as we know today. The great empires, the great alliances, and the factions that dominate Eve all arose from the ashes of these dark times. The collapse of the Eve Gate may have been the humanity's greatest catastrophe, but from that emerged a new era of exploration, conquest, and intrigue. Think about this today. We are reminded of the fragile nature of civilization and the ever-present dangers that lurk in the unknown.